Wasn't that a great panel? All right. So, have you ever wondered how some people seem to know the secret to using social media to further their career? Our next presenters are going to guide us through the ins and outs of navigating the social media jungle successfully. Please welcome Chad Weiss-Bisick, Vice President of the Washtenaw County Convention and Visitors Bureau, and Andrew Ballinger, statewide social media and digital content administrator for Michigan.gov. Thank you.
Well, thank you for the introduction. As mentioned, my name is Andrew Ballinger. One of the things we like to stress about use of social media is first impressions. You know, would you show up to a job interview in flip-flops, shorts, and a t-shirt? Probably not. One of the things we like to emphasize is that 7 in 10 employers, or around 70%, use social media and social networking sites to do research on candidates during the hiring process. So what does this mean for you and first impressions? Well, it means that you should be aware of what your digital footprint is. One of the easiest way to figure out what potential employers are going to see about you is to do a little bit of research. Go out to Google or Bing and do a quick search. Type in your name, type in past positions, see what populates or what doesn't populate. And what those things are going to do is represent part of your personal brand. Just like you would go in and look folks in the eye during an interview process, have a firm handshake, you're going to want to make sure that your digital footprint is up to par. So one of the things we recommend you do is you strategically look at what platforms you want to invest your time and energy on. There's a lot of social media platforms out there. It seems like dozens upon dozens of new networks and platforms pop up each quarter. Some come and go, but what we recommend is being very strategic. Have a couple accounts on a couple major platforms that you can focus on and do very well. It's not about having a presence everywhere. It's about being strategic and really taking the time to invest energy into highlighting your experiences. So me as a former cop, one of the things I decided to do was invest in my strategy on LinkedIn and Twitter. I'm super excited to present today with one of my mentors, Chad. And when I came into a position at the state of Michigan, I didn't have a ton of experience doing digital and social media, but I was doing some things personally, and Chad took note of that, and some opportunities were opened to where then I could lead some agency social media content. So one of the things you can do as a simple building your brand exercise is customize your user handles. So on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Twitter, you know, have a professional branded username. A lot of folks prefer to use a version of their name. And then one of the things you're going to want to do is highlight your experiences and accomplishments. So who's on LinkedIn? Show of hands. Looks like most folks are on LinkedIn. If you're a job seeker and really any professional at any stage of your career, I would highly recommend having a presence on LinkedIn. It's the world's largest social media networking platform. LinkedIn allows you to do research on potential employers, to search for jobs, to connect with former colleagues and potential new coworkers. So if you're in the job market and looking for opportunities, go out. See if the company has a presence on LinkedIn. The great thing is you can actually see who works at LinkedIn if they've opted to associate their profile with it. So you can click on individuals that work at that company. You can customize a message and send that to them and say, hey, you know, I found your profile on LinkedIn. It seems like we have similar backgrounds. I'm super interested in learning more about this company. How'd you get your foot in the door? Do you have any advice as I go through the hiring process? And that's super key in personalizing that introduction and message. It takes about 2 seconds to come up with that personalized intro. I get invites to connect to all the time to people I don't know about. If it's not personalized, generally speaking, I won't accept it. So one of the things a lot of folks look at is, did you take the time and the energy to say, hey, you know, this is what I potentially may have to bring to the table. So one of the things we're going to talk about a little bit later in the presentation is 48% of employers track what their current employers do on social media. So when we talk about the slides that are coming up, one of the things we recommend all of you guys do is take a look at, if you're currently employed, what social media policies exist at your company. and at potential employers that you're looking at, see if they have a public social media policy. When you go through and clean up your accounts and make sure there's no pictures from partying in your college heydays, um, you know, it's super important to have content that aligns with your goals and strategies and the companies that you want to work with and at. Some social media best practices. Don't post or like anything that you wouldn't want shared publicly. You're going to want to establish personal boundaries. So a lot of folks, have rules about not accepting friend requests from people that they work with. That's totally fine. I encourage all of you to find a space that you're comfortable with, and then keep with that. A lot of folks won't accept invitations or connect with their supervisors or leadership at their company, and that's maybe a good avenue for you. So I encourage you to look at establishing some boundaries for your network. And then, as we mentioned earlier, don't have an account on every platform. Be super strategic. Here's a screenshot on the screen that talks about, an employee at a company is talking about their employer, and they're connected to their boss, or a friend is connected to their boss. So the content that individual posted, is observable by that individual. So, it's a safe bet to just don't post or like anything that you don't want shared publicly. Social media reflects not just on you and your personal brand, but also on your employer. So in the slides that Chad's going to talk about, there's tons of examples of different individuals that have had some unfortunate outcomes due to their personal online social media presence, and some examples of some individuals that manage brands for companies, or the brand reputation, posted some things that they probably shouldn't have. So one of the things we talk about social media and social media policies is, the First Amendment. We all should be able to say what we want to say and how we want to say it, but First Amendment does not protect individual citizens from losing his or her job over social media posts. This is a commonly held belief. So again, just be very careful what you post, where you post, and what you like and what you share.
Andrew spoke about some of the top tips to get a job. I'm going to talk about what to do to keep the job and not get fired, because sometimes in life, us human beings learn as much from our successes as we do from our failures. And so the internet is just littered with horror stories gone wrong on social media. And some of these horror stories have damaged careers, damaged reputations for companies. In worst case scenarios, people have even gotten fired for what they've posted on social media. And so don't get fired. That's the topic of my time with you today, is don't get fired. As you'll see, the one common denominator with all my stories over the next few minutes is basically don't do dumb stuff. If I can sum it up that way, don't do dumb stuff. Because the reality is, the fact of the matter is, our personal lives and professional lives are blurred in this day and age, right? So even if you post something outside of business hours on a Saturday or on a Sunday, your employer is watching and your employer is paying attention. So even if you post to social media during off hours, it can have an impact on you, and you cannot avoid, walk away from personal accountability. So I'm going to share a few different stories, some stories ripped from the headlines of today, some stories from a few years past, and these are social media blunders and bloopers that have either gotten people in trouble, gotten companies in trouble, or have gotten fired. And I'm going to share some stories for the job seekers in the room that are looking for a job in the automotive industry. So I'm going to share some examples in the automotive industry, and I'll share some examples outside of the industry, because we can all learn from different industries. So probably the most egregious example of a social media blunder gone wrong is an example of an entire company having gotten fired. So this was some time ago. An individual was working for Chrysler's advertising agency at the time, and Chrysler tweeted, "I find it ironic that Detroit is known as the hashtag Motor City, and yet no one here knows how to effing drive. And the word effing was actually spelled out. So Chrysler tweeted that, and Chrysler tweeted out at the time they had hundreds of thousands of Twitter followers, and it doesn't take long for somebody, even in spite of Chrysler very quickly sending an apology that their account was compromised, it didn't take long for somebody to screenshot that and for all hell to break loose. What happened was that individual was driving in the car, he was stuck in traffic, and he tweeted. Well, actually, that was probably his first mistake, is you don't want to tweet and drive. But the second mistake was he inadvertently posted it to Chrysler's account because he was working for Chrysler at the time, and he intended to post it to his personal account. So he got fired, and also Chrysler fired the advertising agency. So don't make dumb mistakes, people. Some people get fired even before they begin their job. There was an example of a lady that got accepted a job offer for working at a pizza company. And she tweeted, "Ooh, I start this FA job tomorrow. Thumbs down, thumbs down, thumbs down." She actually spelled out the word FA. She spelled it out. Well, an individual, her employer, saw that posted on Twitter and replied, "No, you don't start that FA job today. I just fired you. Good luck with your no money, no job life." So, lesson learned, don't badmouth your employer online. She was not excited about starting her job. She doesn't have to worry anymore because she doesn't have a job. So, that's another example. Here's one more. This is an example of somebody that didn't even start their job but was excited about starting their job. So in this case here, she wasn't excited, but in this next case, she was excited. So there was an individual that was awarded an internship at NASA, a very prestigious company. She was so excited about her new internship at NASA, she tweeted, "I got accepted for a NASA internship. Everyone, shut the F up," is what she said, and she wrote F. Somebody by the name of Homer, we'll get to him in a moment, but Homer said, "Language." She replied back to him, "Suck my beep and beep, I'm working at NASA." And he replied, this is Homer, he replied, "And I am on the National Space Council that oversees NASA." She had no idea. She had no clue. She was so excited about starting in a new job. She used vulgarities and she used profanity. The point of the matter here is you never know who is reading your posts. And that was Homer. So the last few examples were people who were early in their career. They might not have all the experience, they might not have known to do any better. There's also examples, the internet is littered with these examples of very smart and intelligent people making big mistakes. And when these big mistakes happen in social media, it's even harder to correct. So this is a very recent example. It just happened this last month or so. Elon Musk, the CEO of Tesla, he tweeted, this is Elon, he says, "I am considering taking Tesla private at $420, funding secured." Well, what's so wrong with that? Well, I'll tell you what's wrong with that. He misled. He did not have funding secured. And when you're a private company and you say something like that, you're misleading investors, and that is in violation of the SEC, the Securities Exchange Commission. So the SEC fined Elon $20 million and told him, mandated that he relinquish his role as chairman of Tesla. That's a big deal. That is an expensive tweet. So, closing thoughts. As you're getting a job, my best advice to keep that job is don't do dumb things online. Take a moment or two, or three, to think about what you post. In the heat of the moment, it's very quick to fire off something, but calm down, take a moment or two to think about something. And if you mess up, say that you're sorry, and then move on. So remember that example of that potential internship at NASA? Well, the individual, Homer, felt so bad that she was so apologetic and so forthright and so humble. He felt so bad that she lost that NASA internship that he later approached her privately and helped her get another job in the aerospace industry. So sometimes good things can happen because of your mistakes. The last thing is, do not make a mistake and become a case study in our next presentation. Thank you.